Okay. Seems like that worked. We will pop out the chat again. Excellent. We're back.
Are we back online?
We're back online.
Sorry about that, chat.
Nobody's here yet.
Oh.
I am here.
Third time's the charm. Well, let's
Hey, Nomad's the first back.
Welcome.
Sorry about that. I mean, it's not our fault.
It's
but,
my
like,
fault
you know,
somehow.
Don't blame yourself.
I don't.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. It is because of me. The problem is on my end.
It is on your computer. You need to get a better computer again.
I replaced my computer not too long ago.
I need to clean my computer.
Mm-hmm. Everything started going wrong when I got this new mixer. Okay. We were going to talk about Sachio.
Yes.
Yes.
If there's just one thing I would say about him is that I'm not convinced by the way the show constantly talks about him as if he's an essential element of the main three.
Yeah.
Because he definitely doesn't feel as important as either Joe or Nanbo.
What does he do?
He's the technician.
Provides occasional advice.
Yeah, he's the technician who takes care of the gear, but there really isn't a need for
There's
that.
no gear.
Joe's not wearing.
I don't really understand why he's here past episode 3. Like, if he just wants to be there, he wants to be there, that's fine. But go sit on the vents with your friends.
Well, the main thing that's getting across, if I remember correctly, is he's there for revenge for his father. Something like his dad was a Megaloboxer.
Yep.
Killed.
No, his dad was an engineer who worked on the skin integrated gear that Yuri wears. And he was killed because
he wasn't killed.
No, he had.
They stole his research, kicked him out, and then he just died because.
I got the implication that he was killed so that he couldn't go public with the theft.
I don't believe they stated if he was killed or not.
They didn't state it. I just got the vibe.
It was either implied he had a really bad accident or the accident was set up, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no other times in the series where it's the big corporation is that evil and tries to mess with Joe or anyone else in the series to prevent them from progressing.
It's a later episode, I think. I think it's maybe in the last.
It was 11 or 12, something like that.
Another one of those things where they could have expanded on it sooner, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Episode 4?
Yeah, let's go.
Regulobox. Thank you, I will be taking my award and leaving.
Alright.
Woo!
Box.
Let's dance with death / I'd rather boogie with that babe than dance with the Reaper.
Is that the name of
getting these names?
That's the name on Wikipedia.
I don't think that's correct, Wikipedia.
Joe enters the ring for his first professional match against Shark Samejima, but shocks the whole arena by not wearing any gear to the fight, being dubbed Gearless Joe. This is all part of Nambu's plan to have him attract attention. Joe gets knocked down in the first round, which badly disorients him, but he gets up at the 9th count just as the round ends. Shark loses his temper in the second round and fouls Joe, who spends the rest of the round dodging him. During the interval, Sachio chastises both Joe and Nambu, which allows the two to fight and get their priorities straight. Joe uses footwork to KO Shark in the third round. Some time passes, during which Joe wins 2 more fights and climbs to rank 102 while gaining a reputation for himself, even grabbing Yukiko's attention. Nambu visits an old acquaintance to meet Joe's next opponent, who is ranked 17, but is shocked to find that the challenger is someone from his past with a half-burned face. Oh, Ben, I have had about a week sitting on that pun. Don't you think I am cleverer than I am?
Do you get it? Do you get the pun? Do you get the theming? Do you get it?
Regulobox.
box.
Wow.
He fights the Shark Man. Joe is nude. So I love the twist. I love Gearless Joe. I've already gone over why it doesn't matter, because the gear doesn't matter to the outcome of the fight. I wish this would make it an entirely different show, but I wish that gear did more than just augment your physical strength. I wish it let you, like, jump.
You wanted special moves?
Or like, rocket hands, or, like,
Arms.
shoot lasers, or, I don't know, gave you really big hands, at least. Or if there was something defensive about gear, like if you got some armor with it, that wasn't just blocking other gear punches, which is the exact same thing that would happen if there were no gear.
But
like I said,
the theming,
I know that would make this an entirely different show, but that's the only way that gear matters. I wish that either gear did something or it didn't exist.
I feel like maybe gear would be justified if it was shown to be strong enough to to the point where it's clearly easier to win with gear. But the problem is that Joe can never lose, because then the whole narrative just falls apart.
That's just Evangelion. If Joe had taken one punch and gotten his skull caved in, that would be one thing. Or if we take out the gear entirely and we still want to have the theming, use performance-enhancing drugs. Use steroids. Not the same thing, but it still works.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But it doesn't look cool.
It doesn't look cool, and I'm not saying that that's not important. Looking cool is very important. But still, its function is aesthetically symbolic only, but it's a function nonetheless in an art piece with a lot dedicated to aesthetics. Sure.
I mean, I don't subscribe to the idea that if your character, like how some people are saying, you don't, like in Sing, the characters don't need to be animals. In all honesty, that's just an aesthetic art piece. I will agree, though, that the cars don't need to be cars, because in all honesty, that's just kind of dumb.
Right. I feel like we talked a fair bit about this by now, so
yeah,
should we just
did. Any comments on Shark Samejima?
I honestly think he's the first real boxing opponent that actually goes into my point that gear is used as a crutch that people are using to hold back insecurities
go more into
or problems
that. I
with
was
themselves. Into that. Because our first one, Shark Boy over here, is basically just using it to hide his really big rage issues. We don't get much about him. It'll get a lot more into that discussion when we get to the next boxer. But it's the start of it, with just the fact that Shark-sama just has a bunch of anger problems that he just hides behind with not addressing them, just punching people.
Yeah.
Wait, in what sense do you think the gear helps hide his anger issues? I'm not sure I understood it that way.
No, thematic, not literally. He's using it as a crutch.
Not hide them, just as a way to express and deal with them.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I really like that take a whole lot, actually. Especially when we get into next episode, like you said.
I think we can just get into it now, because there's not much else. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of meat on any episode, really. But if I had to pick two that
would be the next two.
It would be the next two. Well, I guess the next two and also one other.
Mm-hmm. Well, episode 5, The Man from Death / So Where Are You From the Other Side from Hell. Nambu's attempt to scout a high-ranked opponent for Joe's next match lands the 17th ranked boxer, his ex-student Aragaki, who fell out with Nambu after a military deployment led to him losing his legs in an explosive trap. Nambu, then a legitimate coach, believed Aragaki dead after an initial news report mistakenly listed him as killed in action. When Aragaki returned to the gym, he was crushed to find it derelict and eventually demolished. In his grief, he nearly kills himself. Aragaki tells Nambu that he intends to destroy Joe as payback for betraying a promise that the gym would always be a home for him. Sagio researches Aragaki's boxing record since rejoining Megalo 3 years prior and finds an unbroken string of brutal wins that leaves his opponents in critical condition. Nambu wants to avoid the fight for fear of what Aragaki's retaliation could do to Joe, but Joe refuses to call it off. The fight begins, and Joe and Aragaki initially seem evenly matched, but an expertly timed blow from Aragaki in the middle of round 1 leaves Joe knocked down as the count approaches 10.
I love Aragaki. He is probably the best character in this show, and I love that his first motivation when showing up is, hey, I got some beef with my coach, so I'm going to take it out on your next pupil. I'm going to kill him.
Mm-hmm. I like Aragaki. I like watching him. I think his motivations are mostly nonsense. His stated motivations are mostly nonsense. I think you can read into it and get something that makes sense. But
I mean, maybe you could just say, go on.
What he says, or what his new coach says to Nanbu is effectively, how dare you believe that Aragaki would die in wherever. I'm going to say Afghanistan, but they never say. How dare you believe that Aragaki is the kind of person who would die? And Nanbu just accepts that. Like, yeah, the news told me he was dead, but I should have...
Presumed dead.
No, well, at least according to this Wikipedia summary, it says listed him as killed in action.
They didn't find it. It's... The TV actually just says presumed dead.
Okay. Well... Aragaki's coach says, how dare you presume that the man who is presumed dead is dead? And Nanbu accepts that. He says, like, yeah, I guess I should have gone to Afghanistan and found his body myself.
Well, no, he would have just gone to one of the... military offices and followed up on that. Like, is there any, did you guys find anything about him, or is it just, like, he's missing? Like,
and then
there was no follow-up, and then Nanbu just basically immediately just left the gym. He didn't try to continue without Aragaki. He just gave up.
But I don't think that's quite true. I think, if I remember right, what the show presents either in this episode or the next one is that Nanbu was still running his gym when he found out that he was actually alive, even though he thought Aragaki was dead.
Yeah, he thought, and I believe he blamed himself for a while too. That's why he's like a useless drunk for like half of the first couple episodes.
Yeah,
I mean, he just kind of like immediately just fell into a depression. Upon learning that his star pupil just
was in fact the kind of person who would die in Afghanistan.
Yeah. So he's just kind of left.
Yeah. A phone call could not have solved this, Tino. The man was in Afghanistan. He didn't have a phone on him. He also... The phone was in his pocket, and his pockets didn't fare so well after the explosion. Yeah, I can't understand being in Aragaki's place. I cannot see a reasonable person ever coming home and blaming someone for believing the news.
Okay.
But why, like, I can still see him blaming Nanbu for just running away and just leaving the gym. Like, he didn't try to get any other pupils. He didn't try to, like, keep the place afloat at all.
Yeah, and then Nanbu says, yeah, I couldn't imagine running the place without you because it's your home. Like, oh, okay, well, that's not what I would have done, but I get it. Like,
I mean, Ben
mentions I can understand him being angry at having nowhere to go. Like, yeah, I do see it. I get the pain. But that's not a reason to kill your successor.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's less rational and more emotional.
It is very emotional, and there's
the immense feeling of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he has this immense feeling of betrayal, and that's what's fueling his, I guess, thirst for revenge, if you can call it, even though it's not really reasonable for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
There is an amazing scene that really sums up why I think his stated motivation isn't like exactly true, which is just when Joe is first meets with Aragaki, because it is interesting that Aragaki keeps talking about how he's going to break Joe, he's going to destroy him, and he's never met the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Joe shows up and Aragaki just like says like, yeah, Nambu's an asshole, you should know this, he's a fucking awful person, and then Joe says that's Cap, and you just watch this this beautiful moment where they're sitting right next to like two kids playing a basketball, and the moment Joe points out how flawed his motivation is, like you just watch as the kid gets nothing but net.
Mm-hmm.
Like Joe scored that point.
No, visually the show is very good. I was going to make fun of Ben in the chat real quick because he was so just getting onto me for saying kill when I was overstating for dramatic effect or comedic effect.
I mean, I said that for dramatic over effect.
Yeah, but Ben does have a point. It's very important that Aragaki says break, not only because of Aragaki's own broken body, but because breaking is something you do to tame dogs. That's a very important word, and Ben is right.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, you break a dog. When there's an animal that's misbehaving, if you get them to become docile and tame them, then it's called breaking them.
Yes, it's the same. The terminology comes from horses.
Yep.
The other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Junk horse.
Junk horse. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ben. Consider me broken. Let's see. I'm scrolling through the Discord chat now. This is the part where I fight with Scrub about going to Afghanistan. LOL, Aragaki's trainer is named Mr. Miyagi. Should we get into episode 6?
Sure.
Episode 6. Until the last dog dies / the midsummer heat might drive a dog to kill, but it will never break him.
What are these fucking Wikipedia titles?
That's not how it is on Crunchyroll, I think. It just says
not on
until
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Are they like directly like Google translating like the Japanese titles?
They're probably from the DVD release if there was one.
Or a Blu-ray one.
Yeah,
Send
DVD in a general sense.
Send it back.
Oh, they're from the light novel.
Light novel? You mean this has a source?
It does not. Not that I know.
It was made in honor of the anniversary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
What if these are just titles from Ashita no Joe episodes? What if we're all goofing on ourselves?
Wait, hold up. There's some kind of manga on Mall.
I think
Megalobox.
they made a manga afterward.
Yeah.
No, it started publishing in the 17th of February that year.
I thought you were going to say 17th century.
No, not quite that old.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it might have been one of those things that was kind of made concurrently like Evangelion or Darling in the Franks.
Or Madoka.
Right.
Okay. Episode 6. Joe manages to get up at the 9th count and continues to fight Aragaki. Nambu, believing that the fight is to be a lost cause, nearly throws in the towel, but Joe stops him and starts the fight back by evenly distributing his weight like Nambu taught him. Recognizing the technique, Aragaki recalls memories from his time under Nambu and starts to break down as anger overwhelms him. Joe lands a solid punch that nearly knocks Aragaki out. The fight continues through the 4th round, with both fighters receiving numerous blows, but ends before the 5th can begin due to a forfeit from Aragaki. Nambu reconciles with Aragaki in the locker room, and Aragaki reveals that due to the damage his leg implants endured during the fight, he risks being bedridden, and that this was his last Megaloboxing match. He gives Nambu back a failed betting slip that Nambu gave Aragaki as a good luck charm, and which he had stopped from killing himself. He tells Nambu to give it to Joe. Yuko publicly announces Glenn Burrows as the 3rd card in Megalonia. Mikio Shirato tells Yuri that the general public cares more about Gearless Joe than the other boxers, but he has a plan to stop Joe from making it to Megalonia.
So,
American.
I love the way he beats Aragaki.
Yeah.
I wish he listed more training stuff than just repeating the 50-50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, because when he says distributed evenly 50-50 over and over again, you think that specific thing is going to be important. And I guess it is, because it puts pressure on his leg stumps. Is the implication that Aragaki is not doing that?
I think it's more that that Aragaki's just getting absolutely pissed hearing his old mentors.
Sure. I get that much. But
because he's mad because despite how much he hates Nambu right now, well, supposedly hates Nambu, he got here through his teachings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is why it would have been better, like you said, if Joe had brought up more different things that Nambu taught them both. Because the implication, repeating that over and over again, is that Aragaki is not doing that, and that he's lost sight of something important, and that specific thing is going to be a big factor in the match. It's hard to attach any of the prosthetics to specific physical capacities in the show, arms and legs. Any prosthetics except for gear.
I do like how Aragaki probably, they talk about it before with Aragaki being a potential 4th pick for Megalobox, but it's very clear that he was going to retire before that, and I love how I love the story of him just pushing himself. Just for this fight, just for this last little bit of closure in his life.
Just long enough to kill Joe.
Yeah. And
what do you mean then he didn't push himself?
Do we want to talk about the scene when he's getting back and with the gun?
It was a well done scene, and it's one that's going to hit home for a lot of people.
No, yeah. If you this is a warning to everyone if you haven't seen the show.
Suicidal ideation warning.
Yeah.
We were about to talk in depth about a scene where a man puts a gun in his mouth, so if you don't want to hear about that, then click off the stream. Come back in 30 minutes just to be safe.
Yeah, that scene is so... That scene is, it's amazing. It's well put together.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely intense.
Yeah, it is, especially considering he's not going to do it.
Yeah, but it's just... Something about it just feels like... I get the goosebumps. Mm-hmm. It's good.
Yeah, this is nothing... This is not detracting from the scene itself in any way. I was checked out of Megalobox by this point, so it did not have the impact that it should have had on me. The scene itself is very good. I'm trying to think of anything specific to say about it. It's just
it really gets the idea that like in those kinds of moments everything matters. Just a simple ticket falling out of a boxing glove.
Mm-hmm.
Just
anything
gives such a visceral reaction from Aragaki. It's amazing.
This before or after he knew that the gym was closed down?
After.
This would be after.
Okay. Then it's very interesting that ticket is what did it. Because you have to wonder what he's thinking in that moment. Is he thinking, I can live because somebody once gave me a place to belong and maybe it can happen again? Or is he thinking like, I can live because I need to kill this man?
I think it's a bit of the former, but it's also, I think, because of the words that Nabu said,
Carpe diem.
It'll help you from getting shot.
Yeah, no, that was very good. Excellent callback. Mm-hmm. I did forget about that. But yeah, the ticket, the name of the dog being Carpe Diem. And I love the scene in one of the later episodes.
It is very interesting, because they do phrase it means like seize the day.
Mm-hmm.
And Nambu always talks about how much let's focus on today, and how the show almost posits that as an incorrect view.
Mm-hmm.
You think? I thought that by the end it was kind of clearly affirming that idea.
Well, previous episodes seem to more focus on saying that you should look towards tomorrow rather than today.
And that is also Aragaki's whole motto, right? I'm thinking of Aragaki.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he's sitting,
Nambu also says seize the day when he had the gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Aragaki is sitting in the corner about to give up the match, he says something about we look to tomorrow or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting to see which characters choose which viewpoint based on what their today looks like.
And Joe's just kind of here in the middle, just like
I want to punch people.
I want to punch. I love how simple he is.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, out of the main cast, is like the least in depth, the most in depth.
The most fun to watch, though.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch. The most in depth goes to Nambu, obviously.
Yeah.
But Joe just is so simple, and it works so well for this show. He just wants to get to his fight crush.
Mm-hmm.
Murder crush is different.
His break crush?
Yeah, his break crush. That's it.
So yeah, Aragaki, I didn't like him at the time, but he's one of the best additions to the show in terms of just vibes. A significantly better antagonist than Yuri.
Again, I don't agree with that, but we'll get to it when we get to the final.
This is how you do a foil character right. Give them screen presence and a personality and a real, backstory that leads them to a place in life where they have a viewpoint that is diametrically opposed to your protagonist. I get that Yuri is currently in a situation that makes him diametrically opposed to the protagonist. But we don't really see how he got there. We don't, and he personally doesn't have much of a personality. Better antagonist in his worldview, not in his challenge level. Well, every boxing opponent that Joe faces is at the same challenge level. I do not see that Joe has a significantly harder time with one than the other. All the major ones, anyway.
Yeah, Aragaki, he lost because Aragaki forfeited due to injury.
Yep. All we can see is the number of rounds changes, and that's a pretty arbitrary way to show that one opponent is stronger than another. Was the stream down for a second, Ben? Anyway, should we go to episode 7?
We can go to episode 7.
Okay. Sorry if this
actually...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would just like to comment, because we did mention that Glenn Burrows is introduced in this episode, and I was very surprised to hear, like, an actual, I guess, English character, I guess American specifically, that seems to be voiced by an actual, like, English speaker.
See,
like,
I watched
instead
the dub.
of...
I always will.
But yeah,
no, they actually had in the subbed version, they gave us a English speaker.
Yeah, in the dubbed version for Pepe Iglesias, they certainly, it sounded like they had a native Spanish or Portuguese speaker.
No, it's the same I'm pretty sure it's the same voice actor for the sub too.
Mm-hmm. They might have just used the same clip, yeah.
It definitely also feels like I can't say much for Iglesias, but it definitely also sounds like they had very little direction when reading the lines. Glenn Burrows talks like a robot.
Ah, I see.
Wait, you think Glenn Burrows sounds like a robot in the dub or the sub?
In the sub.
Yeah, in the dub he sounds fine.
Like, he's fine, he's doing a good job, but he clearly doesn't just have any direction.
He sounds exactly the way you would expect a man named Glenn Burrows to sound. I also am just a big fan of names that are complete sentences. Glenn Burrows. He certainly does. I was walking through a graveyard one time and I saw a grave for, I forget the exact name, but it was like Mary Catherine Withers. Like, yeah, she does. You're goddamn right. Anyway, episode 7.
Yeah, let's go.
The road to death / if you're crossing this river, don't bother paying for a round trip. Joe continues to grow in popularity, but still has very little chance for being chosen for Megalonia. Mikio wins a match against Sugar R. Hill, which, by the way, in this description, it is spelled correctly, but in the show, Sugar is spelled with a G, spelled with an E. Mikio wins a match against Sugar R. Hill and tells the crowd that he will challenge Joe next. The Shirato Group's executive committee urges Yukiko to put Mikio in Megalonia, but she has a different agenda and doesn't want her brother to go any further. Mikio tells Yukiko that he knows she set up his fight with Sugar in hopes of knocking him out of the runnings, and she also is planning to set him up to fight Joe for the same reasons. Mikio meets with Joe before their fight is due to start and reveals that he knows he is an illegal underground fighter with a fake ID and threatens to tell the world that if he gets into the ring. Joe goes to punch Mikio, but is stopped by Nambu, who knocks him out. Mikio wins the match by default when Joe doesn't enter the ring, and he vows to take back the Shirato Group from Yukiko.
Turns out Nambu is the strongest boxer in the entire show.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I guess as a coach, he would understand how to take someone down with one punch, and Joe isn't expecting it, so whatever. It did take me out of it in the moment, though.
Wait, at what point does Nambu punch Joe? I don't remember.
When Joe goes to punch Mikio after Mikio threatens him at the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's at the end of the episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right, so can I just bring up... actually, finish first if you
want
to say something. Okay, so one thing that kind of confused me about, I guess, this episode and the whole plotline is that Yukiko's brother wants to win Megalonia, and then he pretends to want to invite Joe for a match because he thought Yukiko wanted to do that, even though he doesn't really care about fighting Joe, which is showed by the fact that he just kind of tries to blackmail him.
Yeah.
So my question, why didn't he just not invite him and then he would go straight into Megalonia with...
Because he said he knew that his sister was going to just say, oh yeah, you have to fight Gearless Joe first, so he just did it anyway.
Yeah, trying to take back some power from Yukiko. the whole internal power struggle at the Shirato group, I'm not saying that the information isn't there, but it is presented in a very convoluted way.
I mean, it's very much just a situation where he basically has his own, like, subgroup. He's basically just a lead engineer to Yukiko being a CEO.
Mm-hmm. Like, they mention being Grandpa's successor and how she was chosen to lead the company and he wasn't, and, like, it's clear that there is bad blood, and it's clear that there is a specific reason why, and it's clear that Yukiko has reason to be threatened by Mikio, and I'm sure that the pieces are there to put together exactly what the story is. And again, if I had been less checked out and paying more attention, I probably would have gotten it. But it just seems like this could have been much more direct and benefited a lot from it.
Wait, actually, Scrub, can I ask you something while we're still at this point?
Yeah, sure.
Because if Yukiko has the power to just say, okay, now you have to fight this other guy in order to get into Megalonia, and she can do that with Joe, who is ranked 17 by this point, does that imply that if Joe failed, she could just, try to put as many matches until Megalonia starts?
I mean, yeah, that's her idea.
Okay.
And she can only do it because there's such a large, like, following and crowd for Joe. Like, Sugar makes sense. He's the 4th ranked, like, boxer.
Right. It was kind of weird to avoid the animal convention.
Yeah, like, I understand what's going on with Megalonia, because it's effectively an exhibition match, right? Like, it's this company that's putting on a show for the public to display their gear. So, naturally, they can choose whoever they want to be in it. But all of this ranking stuff really implies the whole time that the top 4 are going to be in Megalonia, which they explicitly say is not the case, but then it just makes the ranking seem so arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like,
you can think of it as a way to measure popularity.
Sure.
Well, no, not just that. The ranking system is also just like a power scale, kind of like the same thing with Dragon Ball.
Basically, I really hesitated to think of it like that because power scales are pretty much unanimously stupid.
Yeah, but that's kind of what their purpose is, to say, oh, this is the best boxer here, even though, in all honesty, it doesn't matter.
They are certainly stupid when Joe, the 107th ranked fighter, can fight the 17th ranked fighter and come out ahead, even if it is by forfeit. Especially when he immediately fights the 4th ranked fighter, or whatever Mikio is. Or doesn't fight him, but could have fought him.
I mean, we did know that, like, the reason he fought the 17th was literally just because Aragaki wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
There was, like, fighting Joe, there was basically no reason to do that outside of his own personal biases. Like, he tried to justify it, but...
it is, Lucy, you're right. They are different. The ranking system is just the general ranking system for the sport. It's like your ELO number. And then Megalonia is a totally separate tournament that has nothing to do with it. But that's confusing for a viewer. The editor in me says, don't do that.
Right, so basically, Shirato as a company gets to pick who goes into Megalonia, and they're inspired by the rankings, but they're not actually limited by the rankings.
They're going to pick the 4 people that they think will make the most entertaining competition and who will show off their gear best. Which, why is Gearless Joe even considered?
Because
she doesn't want to let her brother win.
I mean, the main market.
There
are
235 other fighters that she could pick, or something like that.
The main other marketing goal is to show off the integrated gear.
Yeah, but
this
Yuri's
is basically
an
overblown competition for Yuri to beat up on the best boxers and just, like, have it make national TV.
I guess I understand the appeal of having somebody using the integrated tech against a gearless human. It's the same argument that we should have one normal-ass person compete in every Olympic game. because seeing Yuri fight Joe really shows off how good the gear is, not just how much better the gear is compared to other gear. Baxter, do we see somebody use gear outside of boxing? I don't remember that.
No, I don't think we do. But wait, so now, just to make this plot totally clear, basically Yukiko has all the power. If she really wanted to, she could just completely screw up her brother and tell him, no, you're not gonna get into Megalonia, it's going to be this other boxer. And wouldn't that just be the end of it?
As
No,
far as I know, yes.
No, because she's discussing it with a board of directors who all have a say in this.
That is fair. You're right. Yukiko does not have unilateral
She can
power.
convince them that, like, hey, it would give us even more publicity if we fought Gearless Joe, but that's the most she can do.
Yep. No,
yeah,
Scrub
you're
is
right.
I didn't consider that.
Wasn't it the people in the other people who were suggesting that, not her?
No, it was just her for fighting Gearless Joe. The rest of them wanted Mikio in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, then at the end, sorry to breaking in, but I think in the next episode, or whenever she makes the offer that, you know, whoever wins in the match between Sugar and Gearless Joe gets the ticket to Megalonia. Did she need the board of directors for that, or was that
because that seemed like a unilateral decision?
Yeah.
Like, the board of directors can't do anything if she announces it on live TV.
Yeah, that is true.
They just have to work with the decision, because backpedaling from there, especially when she said, hey, there's a chance that the super popular fighter that you all want in Megalonia is going to be in Megalonia, that's going to be a PR nightmare to reverse. You can't just go on TV and say, hey, Yukiko didn't actually have authority to say that. But
that's for.
Besides saying it draws up hype, and if he loses, who cares?
Yep. There was one thing in the fight against Mikio. Is that in... That's in episode 9, right? They're selling the tech to the military, Tino. We sort of talked about episode 8 just now. Do we want to skip to that?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, episode 8. Deadline of the dream / no one else tells you when it's time to give up on your dream. After Mikio wins by forfeit, the Shirato group plans to officially name him as the last finalist in Megalonia. After realizing that Mikio still hasn't revealed Joe's secret to the public, Nambu decides to beg Fujimaki for some info on Mikio to force him into a rematch with Joe. Fujimaki tells Nambu that someone else asked for info on Joe's fake ID, but never got the full story from him and his men, leading Nambu to realize that Mikio bluffed him with half-truths. Needing to get leverage on Mikio, Nambu interrogates a former gear engineer who lets slip that Mikio led a team to create a gear that could read the gear of other fighters, trying to beat the team developing the integrated gear that Yuri now wears on his arms. With this info, Nambu realizes Joe might have a chance, and he tries every method he can to persuade Yukiko to call for a rematch. However, Yukiko is suspicious of Nambu and locks him in a room.
That is so fucked up. That is illegal.
For God's sake, Montresor!
That is illegal, you know.
That night, as the ceremony is held to introduce the final 4 fighters of Megalonia, Joe crashes the scene on his bike and demands that Mikio fight him fairly. Yukiko decides to rip the 4th Megalonia ticket in half, giving 1 half each to Joe and Mikiko, and declares that whoever wins their rematch wins the final spot. The idea of Mikiko's AI-powered gear being able to read the other fighter's gear had me so hype. Because this was the first we had come in the entire series to having gear matter in a fight.
So true.
I was so excited for Joe to get in that ring, and for that to be the reason that Mikiko didn't want to fight him. Because Joe didn't have gear, and he was a good-ass boxer, and was going to kick his ass. And then we get in there, and Nambu's like, oh, his gear's reading Joe's movements. I guess we were wrong.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. He literally built a new suit just for Joe.
Yeah, what a fucking ripoff.
I don't know. It's fine.
Well, it just means that the thing that they spent all episode they got all of this information, and it made everything click into place. And they spent so much screen time and energy being like, yeah, Mikiko's gear works by reading movements and signals from the other fighter's gear. And it's like, oh, Joe doesn't wear gear. Joe finally has an advantage over his other fighter. The underdog thing is now the overdog thing. That was so fucking hype. And then we get in there and
you
Mikiko
wanted the
just
squash
lands his
fight
fucking
and you
punch.
didn't get the
Like,
squash
well,
fight?
Yep. Mikiko just lands his punch. Like, oh, all right. I guess that never mattered, huh?
I think I did find the AI gear a bit confusing because I'm not sure if it's clear what is really in control of.
Yeah,
like,
well,
his
how in
arm
the world is
movement.
this not cheating?
I don't know. Like, is it the AI that's making all the decisions that's basically puppeting his arms? Because they still talk about
the
this
vague
syncing stuff.
the syncing
They're
thing.
synchronized, yeah.
Yeah, there is the
What's that?
vague implication that the AI controls more of the movements as
It's
the sync
yeah,
number
it
goes
is.
up.
It is Ace and Mikio basically like trying to like synchronize so that they can have, because if they're like technically at 100% sync, the idea that there's any delay would be gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Baxter said, Mikio has aimbot. Like, this is not a fair fight. Even if Joe had gear, this would not be a fair fight. The man
don't know.
The man is electronically doping.
Look, we don't know enough about the Megalonia regulations to say that this
The
is not
Megalonia
allowed.
regulations don't say you have to have gear. We learned that
and
in
they don't
episode
say
2 or 3 when the guy we learned that I think in episode 4 when the referee says we've checked the regulations and the megalo part is optional, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. But what I'm talking about is that we don't ever hear it explicitly said that this AI stuff is illegal or not allowed by the
No, but
rules.
how could it not be?
Well, it's just gear.
I'm sure that Ben is right, and it's because there just isn't any information about the AI powered gear out there. So why would they have rules against it?
Yeah, I guess I'm also not sure. Like, what was that kind of a secret? Does Yukiko know that the AI gear is like AI gear? Like, how many people?
Yeah, she does. They know it's AI.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yukiko.
She does know.
Yukiko
they
is the
just
reason
think
they had the whole AI
they just think the integrated model is better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that must mean it goes by the rules. If it didn't go by the rules, then she could just screw up her brother by saying you can't do it.
Fair enough. But that has to be cheating. It can't be. It cannot be okay.
It cannot be okay.
I mean, why not?
I mean, in any sport, it'd be like giving someone in a marathon like wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of the comparison, really.
Yeah, it's like if you run a relay race on roller skates.
Roller skates.
Mm-hmm.
I could see the comparison. I'm not saying that's full case.
I mean, they're all on roller skates, though.
Well, fine, but then it's like one of them has rocket skates.
I mean, not really. It's more like one of them is just like...
It's like doing NASCAR with a self-driving car.
I mean, yes, there are AI that have beaten, like, grandmasters at chess, but there's also grandmasters at chess that have beaten the AI.
The top level AI.
Okay, but I feel like that's not Expo's point.
Consider is AI outside help. Well, I mean, you're allowed to have outside help in boxing. I guess that's an argument. Your coach is allowed to tell you what to do.
Well, he's supposed to, again, coach. But yeah, that's true, too. He can also forfeit for you if you feel like you're out.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a really good point. I feel like Baxter was trying to say if it's outside help, then that can't be right. But in boxing, outside help is fine. So you know what? I think my view is switched. I think this doesn't have to be cheating anymore. I think we're good.
You have come to accept the AI gear.
Huh.
Okay, but Scrub, I think I still need to get this sync stuff like clarified. So okay, you said being 100% synchronized would mean no delay, but it still leaves it kind of ambiguous to me. What is actually controlling his arm movements?
Both him and the AI. They are.
Think of it like a Dragon Ball Fusion or a Pacific Rim, where like the two people sync to the point
AI,
where like
let me explain.
Go ahead.
The AI determines what the best move to block is. It is, and will start to move there. It is Mikio's job to also simultaneously recognize that, so that his arms don't get shoved around and have that would definitely cause muscle spasms if he wasn't also moving in the same direction.
So the idea is that the AI gear is efficient because it can recognize and I guess learn those movements better than a normal, I guess, human boxer can. But then also it doesn't really work unless the boxer himself already can react in like roughly the same time frame.
Mm-hmm. If
like
anything,
that's what
you
seems
could
kind of
argue
weird to
that it
me.
just gives the boxer one more thing that they have to worry about.
Yeah, that's
Could be a
kind of
distraction.
why the AI. That's why the AI gear wasn't chosen over integrated gear, because you can't expect a bunch of people to synchronize perfectly with a random AI.
Yeah, but I think maybe
This is basically just Mikio's baby that he is trying to prove is so much cooler than what is objectively a better option.
but like he still managed to get fourth rank. So well, okay, I guess that has to do with the fact that he framed the AI. He knows the way the
He got fourth
AI
rank. Let me put. If Joe wore that, Joe would not get fourth rank. Joe would get his ass kicked. It is only because Mikio is wearing that gear that it is good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not that the gear itself is good. The AI gear can only be good if it's programmed by the person who's gonna use it.
If it's the man who has spent years upon years of his life trying to perfect this thing, only he's gonna figure out and know how exactly it's going to move and function.
Yeah, I will say, I feel like if you have a completely untrained person in the AI cybersuit and they go perfectly limp and just let the suit do all of the work, they are going to beat any other untrained person in a fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just
But
like
actually,
regular AI that we have right now, it takes the grunt work out of boxing.
but that also means like syncing should not really be a problem. If you can just go limp, then any
Well,
Joe
then he's not going to
Schmo
beat
can.
Joe, because Joe isn't an untrained person.
Well, no. What I'm saying is,
it doesn't make you like a pro level boxer. Like it's going to read moves and then try and figure out how to block them or recreate them.
Mm-hmm.
It is not going to be able to come up with any sort of complex strategy on the fly or even handle the actual footwork.
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Because if you can read your movements, cool. It's still not going to help you if, when you block, you just get shoved to the ground.
Tino brings up an excellent point, which is, why does this suit only have 2 arms?
Fair.
It could have any number of arms.
I don't think they've.
well,
I feel like there were some characters that had multiple arms in the show.
No,
but
I don't feel like any character
I
other
think
than
it was
Mikio could have had multiple arms. The arms have to be able to move on their own. And this is another thing, like I was saying, is why does gear just enhance your punching ability? Make it do something special. Give him multiple arms. Anyway, should we move on to episode 9?
Yeah, maybe.
Every
maybe
now and then you all stop talking and I get very afraid.
Fair. Sorry.
I don't know, I'm just perplexed by the AI gear. Like, I'm still not sure I entirely comprehend the advantage of it.
Yeah, episode 9
But
is just
I don't
the
think
fight
that-
between Mikio and Joe.
I do love just the discussion Mikio has with Yuri, where it's just like it. Specifically, the scene where Yuri just throws a punch at Mikio, who blocks it, and then just asks, "Okay, did you actually have the reflexes to block that, or did you just leave it to your AI?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you a real boxer, or did you just create a boxer?"
And Mikio says, yes. A real boxer uses all tools available to them. It's the same argument that we're having with the Techno Bros now.
It's Mikio's basically saying, because I created this boxer, I am this boxer.
Yep. Anyway, episode 9. A dead flower shall never bloom / this flower's buds smell rotten, its seeds returning to the earth. Mikio is pummeling Joe in their official rematch. As Mikio's gear Ace has been significantly upgraded from before to learn Joe's moves and counter them within seconds, Yuri notes that Mikio upgraded his gear to be able to fight him, as a flashback shows Mikio using drugs to increase his synchronization with Ace to a higher level than normal. With none of his combinations working, Joe decides to drop his guard completely, confusing Ace's programming and leaving Mikio unable to finish Joe off. Further flashbacks show Mikio questioning whether the boxing ability is actually his or that of Ace. Joe decides to bet everything on a counterpunch. Nambu expects Mikio to throw a right straight, but instead Mikio punches with his left. However, Joe instinctively counters with an uppercut, knocking out Mikio and earning a spot in Megalonia. As Joe's Team Nowhere celebrates at their boat, Nambu sneaks out of their post-fight party to meet with Fujimaki.
I actually love. Okay, can we talk about, like, Nambu was technically correct. The AI suit wanted to throw that right punch,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mikio took over, tried to throw the left, and lost because of it.
Yep.
He's, like, literally what happened is that he was syncing pretty well with Ace. He was doing his good job, and if he kept that up, he would have won. But since the AI started acting confused because of Joe's unorthodox methods, Mikio tried to prove he was the boxer deep down and lost because of it.
Yep. Another fantastic bit of theming that does fit pretty well in with the narrative as well. Good job.
I love the moments like that in this show. The show has so many of those moments that I love.
The show does moments very well. I don't think it strings them together all that well.
Wait, maybe just to be entirely clear, what is the thematic idea here? Like, what are we supposed to learn?
That is the question, right? Because we go back to the John Henry thing, where it feels like the big conceit of the show is people acting under their own power and freedom, compared to people who are being propped up by machines and corporations and privilege.
Mm-hmm. I guess actually that.
Yeah, so we have Mikio here, who, aside from Yuri, is the person who is most propped up by machines and corporations and privilege, fighting Naked Joe, who is just Joe. And he decides, at the very last moment in the fight, that he is going to take his freedom, and he is going to make his own decision, regardless of what the machine, the corporation, the privilege wants him to do. He takes that chance on his own ability, and he loses? Which just doesn't seem quite right. But also, we see him later in the show, and he's much happier now. Living in his little cottage with his exceptional haircut.
Yeah. But wait, actually, if he lost because he distrusted his gear, that seems kind of odd to be, at least if Scrub is right about the fact that he would have won otherwise. Because then that would be saying that he should have trusted the technology and the privilege and blah blah.
Yeah, but that also kind of disproves his own point too. Like, the gear is good, but if the boxer is going to resist the gear, then it kind of makes it pointless to use for the Martian purpose. Because if someone second thinks a different brain playing in the same game, it's just going to cause issues.
Well, that's thematically, that's assuming that boxing is the end-all and be-all of life. Because, yes, Mikio loses the boxing match, but he gains a life that does not involve boxing.
Yeah, he kind of just reinvents himself and just lives in the woods now, and I kind of love that.
And he's hot now.
Yeah, he's so hot now. Oh my god.
He gets to be hot and happy.
But his appearance doesn't really change. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen,
Yes,
okay,
it
I
does.
see that
Oh, it
hairdo.
does.
I see that hairdo, and I'm like, ooh, I do.
It's like he's not sleep deprived anymore.
He's not sleep deprived, he's changed his hair, and he doesn't wear Ace anymore. And Ace was not doing him any favors in the aesthetic department.
It's okay, I'll be his ace.
Anyway, Joe and Mikio do their fight, and that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
there's
happens.
not much to say.
We kind of already talked about the
Mhm.
the point, the best point, which is just Mikio's like his whole deal.
Yep. Episode 10. The die is cast / the dice have been thrown. You can double your bet if you want.
I fucking hate these titles.
I love them.
As Joe comes outside to urinate, Nanbu tells him that the real bet he made with Fujimaki was to reach Megalonia and then throw the match upon reaching the semifinals. Joe is angered that Nanbu still wants him to throw a match to save himself and punches him right before speeding away with his bike. Sachio overhears the argument and runs away after feeling betrayed by Nanbu. Fujimaki tells Nanbu that if Joe does not throw the fight, he'll kill all three of them. Later, Nanbu finds Sachio, telling him that he found out about his past. Sachio's father designed the prototype gear that Yuri wears, but his research was stolen by someone in the Shirato group and that the man himself later turned up dead. Nanbu takes Sachio to Yukiko's mansion, offering him a chance at revenge, but Sachio can't bring himself to do it, so Nanbu instead convinces Yukiko to take custody of Sachio and protect him from Fujimaki. Later that night, as Yukiko tries to find the truth behind Sachio's father, Yuri defeats Pepe Iglesias to move on to the final round of Megalonia. Outside the arena, Joe and Yuri talk about their motivations, while a drunken Nanbu stumbles around the boat, recalling Fujimaki telling him about the scorpion and the frog.
So is this episode 9 or 10?
This is 10.
This is
Okay.
I like this episode. I like this whole sort of like two episode arc.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I was a bit confused by what the entire deal was, or why, like, the mafioso guy couldn't have just waited for Joe to maybe win
because
the
he
entire
makes
championship.
significantly more money off of the bets.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Would you gamble on the fan favorite person winning? Or would you gamble on the fan favorite losing in a specific round against like somebody who got overshadowed by Joe?
I guess if I was just a normal person who wasn't like thinking deeply about it, I guess Joe.
Yeah,
Joe,
like everyone thinks Joe's going to win
Yep.
because he's so
There's
much more popular.
so much hype around Joe that the odds of Glenn Burrows winning this match are significantly lower than they should have been.
Like Glenn had a chance. He had a solid chance. He's ranked number 3 for a reason.
Yeah,
He's literally a heavyweight boxer in a world of medium weights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just don't get the logistics of it entirely. So let's say everyone votes for Joe and then Joe loses. How does the mafioso guy?
Because he voted for Glenn.
First off,
Okay.
he and his people vote for Glenn, and then they make money off of those bets. But if they are also in control of the bets, then they keep the money that the people bet on Joe and don't give any other money out.
So they only gain money. They don't lose any money because they
Correct.
control the match.
Yeah.
Assuming that we're talking about
Okay.
bets that they control.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there are also
There's a few
other betting
people-
pools that they throw money into
Yeah.
betting on Glenn.
And like there's still going to be people who bet on Glenn like legitimately, but like they want to weigh it heavily towards Joe's favor.
So this is an incredible gut punch of a twist. And it fits perfectly well narratively and thematically, and I love it. You know how much I hate twists.
Yeah.
I think
Nanbu was like, we thought that Nanbu's whole deal was like finished with Aragaki. We thought like, okay, Nanbu's on our side now. He's good guy. But no.
Nope, never has been. This is perfectly well executed, and I love it. I do personally still think I would have enjoyed it more if we had known from the beginning that this match was supposed to be rigged.
That's fair.
And we can deal with Nanbu's guilt as it becomes clearer and clearer that Joe actually does have a chance to win Megalonia. And then eventually, we're just sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop, where Nanbu has to say, hey, kid, actually, we're all gonna die if you don't lose this match.
Yeah, I adore just they use the whole story of, like, the frog and the scorpion. This is, the theme for this sort of, like, 2 episodes is, I guess, nature versus nurture, in a way.
Yeah, like, who was it? Somebody recently said that Nanbu is the frog. I think Nanbu is both.
Isn't Nanbu supposed to be the scorpion?
He is, but like
betrays
the
Joe.
idea is that Joe is the frog and Nanbu is the scorpion.
Yeah,
but
like, Joe is seeing Nanbu as the scorpion right now. It is in his nature to sting, but it's not Nanbu's choice to rig this match. It's Fujimaki saying, hey, we stand to win a shit ton of money if you rig this match, so you're going to rig this match. Fujimaki is the one who is stinging.
Right, but like, wait, so is he like lying because he spoke about it in a way to Joe that sounded like he was just out for their how would I say it, the winner money? So Joe thought they were up for the win, and that the mafioso guy would like that because they would get the money they get as a reward.
Yeah,
that means
Joe wants to win. Fujimaki wants the biggest rigging game of his life. He wants to rig the biggest competition that they're gonna have a chance to rig.
Yeah, no, Fujimaki is the one who is acting predictably according to his nature here. Nanbu is being coerced to sting, which is not the same thing as acting according to your nature. Nanbu is the one who is drowning because somebody else stung him.
Literally drowning in booze.
Sure, that's a stretch, but okay.
I mean, I think it works.
Yeah, no, you can imagine me. You don't have to imagine me. My camera's on. Sure, that's a stretch, but okay. Now wait for the delay to catch up and watch that.
All right.
Fujimaki is the one drowning because he was stung. Joe is like the second frog under Fujimaki, who drowns because there is a dead frog on his back now. And then he decides, I'm gonna become Strong Frog, and swims across anyway.
And Sachio is there.
Sachio's on the side of the river yelling, "Go, Joe!"
Yeah. I actually do really enjoy the scene of Nanbu just like, so you want revenge against the Shirato group for, like, what happened to your dad. Okay, I get it. Here's a fucking knife.
Go kill this woman. Oh, you can't. Well, she's your mom now.
Then he remembers. Even she has.
I actually love that scene so much, but it is out of context the funniest shit.
I just love how Nanbu says, "Hey, you're gonna be this kid's mom," and like the most powerful woman we see in the show is like, "Well, okay."
I mean, she's like, the fuck am I? Now. And it's like, no, you owe him. I do?
Kinda. I mean, he was right. But anyway, I feel like I still need to comment for the Scorpion stuff. Like, I wouldn't say Fujimaki is really the Scorpion because he was just like deliberately planning to betray them the whole time.
As
It doesn't
Scorpions
really
do.
feel like. I mean, yeah, but in the fable, it's definitely against the
You're
Scorpion's
right.
interest to sting the frog because it just drowns.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Fujimaki was doing something that actively benefited him, or
Sure.
that aimed to benefit.
Yeah, I was only
Whereas
thinking in
Nambu-
terms of it is in his. I was only thinking in terms of how he's like never made it a secret that this is what he's going to do. This is what he was always going to do. This is the only thing he has a choice to do. But no, you're right. It's not a perfect fit.
It is just. I just really like this episode. Just the drama, the melodrama of it all.
No, this show does melodrama very well. I just don't think it leans into it hard enough.
I would enjoy it if it was more soap opera boxing.
Yes, soap opera boxing. Give us that. Give us a telenovela of box. Anyway, episode 11. I had one word of notes on episode 11. 2 letters.
What was it?
It was no.
No.
Episode 11. Are
What
we
do you mean
good?
by that?
Yeah, we can continue.
A Dead
What?
March / What?
No, just go on. We will talk
Episode
about it.
11. A Dead March / Enough with the gloomy hymns. Give me something with trumpets. Fujimaki's men escort Nambu to the arena where Joe is slated to fight Glenn Burrows in their semi-final match. Meanwhile, Sachio refuses to go see the fight, thinking Joe and Nambu both abandoned him for a rigged match. Nambu is shown to the luxury suite where Fujimaki watches the fight as Joe appears by himself in the ring wearing his old gear after a visit to his old mechanic friend. Nambu instructs Joe to take a dive in the 3rd round while Fujimaki keeps a close eye on Nambu, chiding him for acting like a real coach even though he's about to make him throw the fight. Nambu hopes that this act will repay their debt, but Fujimaki states that Joe will be under his heel forever. As Joe gets pummeled in the corner, Nambu tries to encourage Joe to continue fighting while his gear falls off and he hits the mat. Suddenly, Sachio appears ringside, yelling at Joe not to give up. Joe gets off the mat and manages to beat Burrows with a counter punch, knocking him out. Meanwhile, Nambu begins to brawl against Fujimaki's men in the suite. At one point, one of them pulls a gun on him. Nambu grabs a knife. Meanwhile, Joe and Sachio are celebrating their victory and then race to the suite where Nambu has stabbed his remaining eye out as payment to Fujimaki. Impressed at the spectacle, Fujimaki decides to let the 3 go. This doesn't mention that Megalobox becomes a musical this episode.
Yeah, I don't care for Sachio's rap.
Did any of you watch the dub?
No.
They dubbed the rap.
Oh boy,
Oh, no.
did they actually rhyme it?
Yes.
Okay, was it any good?
It was fine. Erica Mendez is the voice actress. I think.
Okay, then yeah, she can do fine.
Sachio.
Okay.
It was either her or the other one from Hunter x Hunter. Sachio Megalobox voice actress. No, the other one, not the Japanese one. Dub. No, the other one. Erica Mendez. Here we go. So yeah, of course she did a fantastic job. Megalobox was always a musical. Yeah, technically, I guess.
I mean, it didn't have that much rapping. I think there was one episode before this that had a rap inserted.
There are 3 rap songs, one of them by Sachio.
Yeah, there was a scene in one of the earlier episodes where somebody is rapping with somebody else. But no, this is a scene where Sachio does a rap and it becomes the backing track for the boxing match.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was incredibly disorienting.
It was. It's like, listen, I talk about how much I love these 2 episodes, but like, the rap is just something where it's like, okay, we're doing this again.
I feel like, as much as we can all agree that the performance was very well done, none of us want this to happen. So there's no real reason to talk about it. Is anybody going to defend the rap?
Well, I'm not sure I really see what the problem is. Do you just think it's too on the nose?
No, it's just that this has not heretofore been a musical. We have a character who is rapping about events that are happening on screen which would be fine in a musical. But this isn't a musical. It's just very distracting.
Oh, I didn't mind it. That's all I have to say.
It breaks suspension of disbelief because this is not the vehicle that this show has taken so far to present information and character. Like, you can watch Review Starlight if you want a musical anime. This isn't something that you can introduce in episode 11. I'll just put it that way.
No, you can't add raps randomly in my anime.
You can
That's
add an
bad.
in-character rap whenever you want, but this is not an in-character rap. This is a soliloquy delivered as a rap.
I mean, but couldn't you say it's just Sachio rapping to himself about stuff that's going on?
But it's not, and you know it's not.
But is it?
I mean,
What do you
they're
mean
trying
it's
to
not?
portray it that way, but it isn't.
What do you mean it isn't? It is. They show it.
No, it's not. We can yell at each other all day. Like, it's not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay,
This is Fontaine going center stage and singing I Dreamed a Dream. Like, the rap is not happening in character. Even if it is, it isn't. It's for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah, I guess. So I think there's two plot-related points I would probably bring up with regards to this episode, or maybe just things that I didn't find entirely clear. So first off, the Fujimaki said before that he would kill all three of them.
Yep.
If his condition wasn't met, but then Nambu just gouged his eye out, and Fujimaki thought it was so admirable. He said, "Yeah, okay, you don't need to die now."
He explains that like, yeah, they're going to the finals of Megalobox. Nambu is a coach, and he's taking his student to the highest level there possibly can be, and he's never going to see it.
Yeah. Not Nambu. Fujimaki is that character archetype of the gentleman criminal, which I love. I adore this kind of character.
Like, at that point, killing Nambu and everyone else would be seen by the rest of the Mafia world as just petty.
Fujimaki is just sitting here saying, like, yeah, okay, I respect that. You're good. Like, I can still kill you three at any moment. Why do I have to do it now? I'll let you have your victory. It's not that he doesn't have respect for Nambu, even. It's business. It's all business, man.
Yeah, and Nambu gave him a transaction.
Yep, Nambu basically convinces him that the debt is paid. He respects Nambu enough that he is not going to claim interest on the debt. Last night does not recall the rap. You blocked it out.
Yeah, it's I'm not even gonna lie. It's the worst. Well, maybe not the worst part of the show, but it's definitely the most distracting. It's not worse than the OP, but it's definitely distracting.
The fisheye close-ups were too on the nose. I liked it because of the references to Fujimaki being a hobbyist chef. I really liked all of the times we see him cooking and taking pride in his cooking, and then he's got this fish, and I love
how the moment he sees that he's getting fucked, he's just stabbing it.
Mm-hmm.
He's just gouging it.
I mean, like we already said, this show is pretty on the nose with regards to all the themes and metaphors and whatever. Like, I don't think I mind it being on the nose with regards to the food metaphors as well.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about episodes 12 and 13 because we're running out of time because of the technical issues.
Yeah.
And we do need to get to the fight between Joe and Yuri.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much there. It's really episode 12 that we need to talk about. Because we apparently had some, a little bit of a debate.
Sure.
Not a debate, but we had some friction on this.
Episode 12, Leap Over the Edge of Death / if you're going to leave your album behind at the water's edge, then you don't want to cross this particular river.
You have to be making these up! There is no way.
Oh, you should see the Spanish ones.
Yukiko signs a contract with the military for her company's integrated gear development, but is shocked to discover that Yuri has decided to have his own gear removed. Yuri states that he wants to fight Joe on equal terms without any gear. A newly blinded Nanbu invites Aragaki to help train Joe for the fight in his place, using his improved hearing to critique Joe's form. Meanwhile, Yuri visits Mikio at a cabin in the woods to get his gear surgically removed. Later, Yukiko learns that Joe's ID badge is fake and has an excuse to disqualify him from the tournament, but she holds off and decides to visit Yuri. Yuri slowly recovers from the pain of the surgery and refuses Yukiko's help when she offers anesthesia, wanting to fight through the pain on his own. Later, Yukiko then visits Joe by the riverbank, telling him that she knows about the fake ID but won't stop his fight with Yuri, as she can't understand what made Yuri want to take such drastic action to fight him.
Yukiko really said boys will be boys.
She sure did. So this is the part that Scrub and I got into a fight over, which is Joe has been wanting to fight Yuri since episode 1. And the person he fought in episode 2 was Yuri with his integrated gear. Joe is not getting the rematch that he wanted because Yuri is not the same boxer. He does not have the same capabilities as he did in episode 2. Joe is fighting a weakened Yuri with half of his skin cut off, and he's happy about it. That just does not seem like it would be satisfying to him.
Because Yuri is finally recognizing him as a true rival to do this.
He's handicapping himself again.
I mean...
Yes. But
it's not the same as just saying I won't use my left arm.
It's him saying, I'm going to fight you with my own skill, not with this added armor. I'm going to fight you the same way you fight everyone.
The most important thing that we actually didn't go over talking about episode 10 and 11, the scene with Yuri and Joe out on the riverbank, where they discuss their dream and why Joe fights gearless and just like the thrill he gets.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks Yuri, like, hey, what's your dream? And Yuri talks about how, like, I don't really have one. I fight for Yukiko's dream in the Shirato group. And Joe, like, winces, like, he gives that just, like, ugh, kind of look. And you could interpret that as, like, I wish I could fight you, but I can't because I'm supposed to be throwing this match or else I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
What it speaks to me is that Joe hates, like, he liked Yuri. He liked fighting Yuri in the underground boxing ring, on the bridge, and in the final fight because it was Yuri going up to Joe against anyone else. Yuri wanted to fight this man.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe being told, oh, you're only in here, you're only doing this because of another person's dream, it's an insult to Joe. What Yuri is doing now is fully stating to Joe, I am here to fight you, and there is nothing else to get in the way.
I get that. And I respect that. I just don't feel like Joe, as a proud fighter, is the kind of person who is going to smile hearing that he is not going to rematch the same man. I can see that he would be happy that Yuri is a changed man, and I can see that he would be happy that Yuri's values line up closer with his own now. I just feel like from a competitor's point of view, that has to be disappointing.
I can see that, but
because there is a good
Joe
chance
doesn't
that Joe
strike me as that type of man.
Do you think that Joe would have been happy to see any of his other competitors take off their gear?
He probably just wouldn't care.
Yeah.
This is like he'd probably just say, if you want to try and beat me at my level, that's fine. But I don't think you're the real deal.
I just don't see it. Like, that's all I gotta say. I just don't see it. Like, maybe
actually,
I can see not caring, but I think he would be happier to beat somebody who's doped up. Like,
someone in the chat is saying that it's an Ashita no Joe reference.
yeah,
Maybe you should get.
again, haven't seen Ashita no Joe.
Yeah, I don't think, just because it's a reference, I don't think we can really use it as a reason.
I do think it would be really interesting to watch Ashita no Joe and compare everything in Megalobox to everything in Ashita no Joe. But that's not a discussion we can have.
That'd be better for like a video subject.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I'm wondering if anyone's actually done that yet, considering it was based off.
I'm sure. But yeah, I also feel like by having the gear removed, you are implicitly admitting that the gear never mattered. Like, if the final fight is just a regular old boxing match, from a narrative standpoint, if this fight is still fair and difficult, and Yuri is doing the same amount of damage to Joe with his punches as other people did with gear, then what is the point of the gear? Joe, don't you play Omega Strikers? Scrub, don't you play Omega Strikers?
I'm not playing Omega Strikers.
Why did it say that you're playing Omega Strikers, Scrub?
I'm not.
Glitch.
Okay.
I'm playing Isaac right now, actually.
Don't you play video games in the middle of our talk?
Do you not respect us enough?
Yeah, Scrub. What's going on?
There's this thing called ADHD.
I'm just doing the damn dailies so I can be done with it on the mind.
No, you're fine. There's a video about an hour long with every Ashita no Joe reference in Megalobox.
That's not really an analysis.
Yeah, like, I understand the thematic reasons why it is important for Yuri to remove his integrated gear. From a narrative standpoint, it's really stupid, and I don't think Joe would appreciate it. But I understand the other argument, I guess.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think is that episode 12? Is that everything we have to talk
12.
about there?
I think so.
Yeah, and episode 13 is just the fight, which is, I like it. It's a fun fight.
Yep.
I love them just screaming at each other.
Mm-hmm.
I love just the sudden, like, time will now freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll have a little talk.
We'll have a little chat, which I can only assume is not actually happening. It is just what they are conveying to each other.
It is the metaphorical chat hit on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they go 13 rounds, one for every episode. Both fighters
And
bet
then-
everything on one last punch.
Yeah.
And then it is strongly implied that Yuri kills Joe. But he does not.
He's not dead yet. It's against... Joe decided to go against the nature of the show.
Mm-hmm. He is an anti-Scorpion. We shift to 1 year in the future when Nambu has opened a new boxing gym called Gym Nowhere. By the way, the title of this one is Born to Die / Though the flesh may rot, the bones will remain. They are proof that you are alive.
Jesus.
So true.
Boy, these titles sure use 100 words when 10 will do.
Yuri is confined to a wheelchair. Joe stops at the gym on his bike to deliver a couple of packages. The packages are gear for children.
Yeah, the little toy gear. I imagine that they're actually just... They probably, like...
Are like the equivalent of water guns.
Yeah, they're like AA battery powered.
Yeah, but... How does that affect the theming? You're giving gear to the next generation? Joe, you're doing that? Like, it's a cute moment, I like it, but in a show that is so concerned with its metaphors.
I think the epilogue is just where they drop all metaphorical pretense and they just have fun.
Then why do
It's
it?
just epilogue.
Because it's fun.
Sure. No, I'm a big fan of doing things because they're fun and they make sense
They
in the
don't
world.
need
It's
to.
just
They don't need to prove
they don't need
themselves.
to
They don't
anymore.
need
The
to
fight
talk
has
about it.
happened.
The point
I mean,
has
we want to
happened.
find out. I mean, presumably want to know what happens to the characters after the big competition thing. So
Sure.
did we see that?
We
That's
see
it.
that. I like that everyone is happy and that Yuri is part of the friend group now. I'm a big fan of that whenever that happens in a show. Taking the big bad and just kind of folding them in.
Just like Skate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're gonna go golfing. Oh wait.
Okay, anyway, I feel like I need to bring this up. Why did Yuri get crippled from, I guess, that match? Like, we don't really hear anything like a cause, at least explicitly.
Probably we don't get an explicit reason. Probably a combination of the surgery and a well-placed punch.
Yeah, like during the fight, he even says if the minute he sits down, he's probably not going to stand back up again. And they took that to the literal sense after
That's true. I
after
did
the match.
forget about that.
And I mean, that's usually feels like that's been that at least like he's standing buff thing has been played in other boxing shows too.
It's not because the gear had something attached to his spine, because he had the gear removed and it was fine.
And if you actually pay attention, the gear was primarily on his arms,
his shoulders, and it was on his upper back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
But
not
that
saying the
part-
gear wasn't attached to his spine, but that's not why he was paralyzed.
Well,
after the fight.
even if it was
Yeah,
attached,
he was-
even if it was attached to his spine, he was only paralyzed from the waist down.
that's
so
still
the gear
possible. Like, it was attached at his lower back. It's still not above his arms.
I didn't see. I was gonna say it looked like it was attached to his upper back, and that had nothing to do with how he got paralyzed.
That's really interesting, Omar. In the Spanish dub, at the end, Joe asks Yuri, "Can I take your dog on a walk?" And Yuri responds, "Only if you take me out as well." When in the original, there's just music.
Good. I cannot forgive season 2
Oh my
for
God.
just making them not in a relationship. They're clearly gay.
Who won? It was Joe. Joe won.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
very end of
They
the...
reveal that in white text on a black screen, which stylistically, you know, I can't say anything about that. But as a show, you could show that on your show, your visual medium.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they didn't do that.
Ashton no Joe probably did it.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the list just shows like how many wins and losses everyone has, and shows that Joe only had one loss. Technically, it was due to
Zero
forfeit.
No, I think it
Said
said
zero.
he got.
Oh
no
yeah, that's
losses.
right. Professional counts. I'm not counting the forfeit didn't count
Mm-hmm.
because he only played like I believe it was like 3 professionals.
Wasn't it counted 7 wins?
I think so.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we have 3.5 minutes until the official end of this stream. We'll probably go a little bit over, but we need everybody to pick an anime for next time to put in the poll.
I'm
We're gonna pick a.
I'm expecting some. I'm joking, but I would expect Nomad in the chat to say season 2.
No, we are never
No.
again doing one season of a show. This was the last time.
Well, season 2 would be. There's no season 3.
Season 2 is one season of a show.
Wait, but if we do season 2 of Megalobox, there's going to be no people telling us.
We're not doing season 2 of Megalobox. We're not rewarding this. Megalobox is done.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
I propose
can't
the
say it.
smash hit 2017 anime Domestic Girlfriend. It's garbage. It's not garbage. It's trash.
Yeah.
It's a
Is
show.
it hot, steamy trash that deserves to be set into a dumpster that's on fire?
No, it's a melodramatic soap opera of a show.
Oh God.
that I enjoyed watching, but that really has no canonical merit. You will gain nothing by having seen it, but you might like the experience.
Actually,
Wait, can you say?
yeah, I can
what is
agree
the-
with that completely.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See it. I liked it.
Sorry, what show are you talking about?
I also think that might be.
Girlfriend. Domestic
I think-
Nakanojo.
I also think that might be the best way
yeah,
to describe Megalobox. In all honesty.
At least season 1.
What's that, Tenek?
I think I just said that Domestic Girlfriend is Kino.
Yeah. Omar says the intro is so fire, and yes, it has an OP that is about 15 times better than it has any right to be. The OP is probably in, like, the top 25 OPs of all time. Anyway, that's my pick. Fire King, what do you want to watch?
I'm trying to think. Is there anything that has one season I know of that isn't?
Not just one season. 12-ish episodes, self-contained. One season.
One core.
Give me a sec.
Tenek?
You're asking for my pick?
Yeah, your recommendation.
Yeah, so are we going by any theme or is it just whatever
No
we
theme.
want?
Whatever you like.
I'm gonna pick Paranoia Agent.
Paranoia Agent.
Yes. I mean, it's... I don't know how to describe it. One
That
of
one
those...
I need to watch.
I mean, it's a highly acclaimed show,
Yeah, I've
but
heard
like
of
that's
that.
all I know about it.
Never seen it. Also know nothing about it except that it is... What the hell is this man's name and why can I never remember it?
The Satoshi Kon.
Satoshi
Yes.
Kon. Knew it
You know,
was...
the director of movies like Perfect Blue
Yep,
and Paprika.
Some of the big ones I have to suggest are either more than 12 or aren't complete yet.
13, 14 is fine.
More than that,
I would
unless
say
I want
15 is the hard limit.
Yeah, 15's the hard limit.
the.
Though it's
Scrub,
very.
you got any suggestions or?
I'm not going to do a
essentially-
second suggestion. I'll throw my weight around once we have our picks.
Right. I'm just trying to think what I got because right now we got one good choice, one mediocre choice. I could give one really bad choice,
Scrub, what do
or
you
I
think?
can give. No, I got one.
I'm
What do you
checking
mean?
to
We
see
have
if there's
two very
anything
good
else. You know what? Actually, no. I know. I'm gonna vote for Odd Taxi.
Excellent choice.
Then I'll just throw in Marshall,
I guess there's
Magic's the
such
Muscle.
streamers.
Marshall.
That one's not a bad one, unlike my first idea. So let's go with that one.
Newer one. Okay. Everyone in chat, our 4 choices for next time are Domestic Girlfriend, Marshall, Magic and Muscle, Paranoia Agent, and Odd Taxi. I think this is going to be another fairly close vote if Odd Taxi doesn't sweep it.
That's one I need to watch anyway.
Yeah, no, I would love to watch Odd Taxi again.
I would
Anyway,
prefer not to.
everybody, thank you all so much for coming. I hope that you come join us next week for our game hangout. If not, I will see you next month. If you do, I will see you next week. Patreon.com/ExplanationPoint, link in the description if you want to get on these discussions yourself. If not, then don't. And until next time, I'm Explanation Point, and I'll see you later or something. Anybody else have something to add?
I just want to tell Baxteria Jax, Psyche K is way too long. That's like 50 episodes in total.
I also hate it.
I love it. But too long
anyway.
whatever.
The problem I have with Psychic K is
Bye,
what
everybody.
happened with the dubs.